Can you learn how to start investing into property whilst working a full-time job?
It's entirely possible.
Thanks, Joe. In this video, I'm going to break down the best 7 ways to learn how to start investing into property whilst working a full-time job. Hello people, I'm Jim. Welcome to the channel. I'm a part-time property investor who is documenting my journey to financial freedom from my day job in the oil and gas industry. I'll be breaking down everything to do with property investing in general, and getting a grip on your personal finances. Taking the first step into any new venture is often the hardest part. But before you do that, you need to make sure you understand what you're getting yourself in for. You can do this by gaining the knowledge needed before you get into something. Hence the common phrase, knowledge is power. At the start of your journey, it is 100% worth starting out by investing into your knowledge. Now, due to the fact paid courses are really expensive, I'm not going to mention them in this video, as that can be a massive barrier to entry for lots of new people who are starting in property investing. So all of the tips I talk about in this video are low or no cost, but you will have to put in some time. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to learn everything before you start, because like most things in life, property investing is tough. And if you completely understood every aspect of it and all the potential issues, you might not even get started. But you certainly need to understand the basics before you do anything, as you don't want to make a costly mistake when you could have taken a bit of time to research it to prevent it. Doing all of this research while you still have a job is the perfect time in my opinion, as you can fit it around your work life and start building up the knowledge base, so when you are ready to take the plunge into getting involved into property, you have all the information at your disposal. If you want to try and add all these different tips into your working day, it could be listening to a podcast on your drive to work or checking Rightmove during your lunch break. There are always opportunities during your working day to carve out moments for building up the knowledge. So number 1 is the big dog, and that's networking. The property industry has many different property investment networking events, and if you do a quick Google in your local city, there will be loads. They normally happen on the same day each month, generally in a hotel in the city centre. Now, due to the Rona, networking events have all been online recently. But fingers crossed, as stuff starts to open up, they'll be allowed to go ahead again. Most of these events tend to have similar setups. It tends to involve someone doing a talk around a specific subject. It may be around flips, for example, where they give everyone at the event a breakdown of the strategy and talk through some worked examples. You might have a few different speakers in one evening, separated by a networking break in the middle and at the end. This is where you can create some really powerful relationships with different people. Now, if you've never been to one of these events before, it can all seem a bit overwhelming, and there is a chance you might stand in the corner and not talk to anyone, or do what I did during my very first one and spend the whole networking break in the toilet. But this is absolutely fine, as it normally takes a couple of trips to build up your confidence at these events. A really good tip is to speak to the hosts and mention the strategy you want to do, and if there's anyone at the event who might be good to network with. If you are planning to invest outside of your area, then attending these events is a quick fire way to make some brilliant contacts, which provide massive value when you're investing remotely. You can tend to get some builders who will attend these events to make relationships for future works. So if you can find a good project manager at one of these events, it will make your life 100% easier when it comes to investing remotely. Typically, these evenings will cost around £20 and you'll have to pay for any drinks you have at the bar. But if you need trades, accountants or brokers, this is the place to look for recommendations. If you are new to property investing, then going to these networking events and meeting someone who's a few steps ahead of you can be the most powerful thing for your development. Let's say, for example, you are looking to get into HMOs, and you meet an investor at a networking event who has a portfolio of 5 HMOs. This is the person you want to connect with. Although it would 100% be worth speaking to someone who has 100 HMOs, they are operating at quite a few rungs above you on the ladder, so might be going through different problems that might not be relevant to someone who's trying to find their first deal. Whereas if you go to the investor who has 5 units, it will still be fresh in their mind what they did to find their first deal, so you can tap into their knowledge. Personally, I think this is a really good approach when it comes to property. Find someone a few steps ahead of you in their investment journey and use them as a sounding board for ideas. You need to make sure you get people's contact details when you go to these events. Normally, people hand out lots of business cards, which is great, but most of the time people are really bad at chasing up. So just hand your phone over and let them put their number in and text them straight away. And then put a reminder in your phone to message or call them a few days after the event. This is where, if you have found someone a few steps ahead of you, you need to set something up with them before you leave. This might be a coffee, taking them out for lunch, or even better, my personal favourite approach, which is to help them out on an ongoing project. So you can go to a refurb, help strip the walls all day, but you get access to the investor and you can pick their brains while you're doing this. And this will really help you get into the right mindset for property investing. I cannot wait to start getting back out to networking events once they have started up again, as sometimes being involved in property, and this can be particularly noticeable at the start, can be a lonely endeavour. Sometimes other people, whether it's your family, friends or work colleagues, don't understand the attraction, as it's a lot of hard work. So having like-minded people can be really nice to bounce ideas off and have a general chat about investing. The next 3 tips centre around building your core knowledge, as you can attend the networking events, but it seems like everyone else is talking a different language when it comes to the terms around property. You'll hear people say,
rent to SA, below market value, freeholder, leaseholder, HMO, goldmine area, loan to value, probate.
Chances are, if it's your first networking event, then you'll probably be slightly nervous anyway, which is totally normal. But hearing all these terms might make you think you need to split the atom to be a property investor. But this is far from the truth. You just need to understand the basics and the terminology and you'll be on the right path. So my first tip for building the fundamental knowledge is to read. Reading feels like one of those things we all say we do to everyone else, but we all know probably deep down we do not read enough. Whenever I've committed to reading, the value I've gained has always been top drawer. So it's a habit I'm trying to cultivate at the moment. But when it comes to reading for property investing, there are loads of good resources out there to get your teeth into. When it comes to books around property investing, there are 3 standouts to me which I'll give you a quick breakdown on. First up, we have Property Investing for Dummies. These for Dummies books are perfect for anyone who's brand new and doesn't have any previous knowledge of the subject, breaking down all terms and key areas of property investing. Once you've read this book, it's always great to use it as a reference in case you need to go over a certain topic or term, so it's definitely useful to have it lying around. Next we have Property Magic by Simon Zucci, who's a property investor based in the UK and has been investing into property since 1995. This book breaks down how to buy properties using other people's time, money and experience. When I first started out in property, this book was certainly an eye-opener for me, as it exposed me to different approaches, which I had not even thought about before going into the detail of the book. The book is also littered with case studies about how different investors implemented strategies into their own investment journeys, which is always more relatable for a newbie. Finally, we have Multiple Streams of Property Income by Rob Moore. Rob Moore, alongside his business partner Mark Homer, have built up a property portfolio with hundreds of residential properties, alongside massive projects which include commercial to residential deals in the centre of Peterborough. Multiple Streams of Property Income is a brilliant book for getting beginners to understand how to scale a property business, which is detailed in the 6-stage Property Investor Roadmap. Not only this, it gives you a good overview of each of the different property strategies, which is great to read a few times over as a beginner. A bonus book which is by both Rob Moore and Mark Homer is Property Investing Secrets, which is a really detailed book which will give you all the fundamentals alongside with some tips and tricks from seasoned property investors. So if you fly through all of them and are looking for something else to read, you can't go far wrong with this one. Alongside reading these books, there are monthly magazines like Your Property Network, which if you sign up for, you will receive a copy of the magazine once a month, and it will give you updates on the market along with case studies from different investors on how they are implementing different strategies around the country. So if you're looking for some reading content to stay in the loop at the start of your journey, a magazine like this will be ideal. If you're not much of a reader, then the next 2 approaches to building your fundamental knowledge might be the best for you. Next, we have the kingpin of content in the 21st century, which is YouTube. It is 100% my favourite platform, as the content you can get from this is unreal, and to be honest, it has truly changed my life and I still can't believe it's all free. There are so many creators who will go into detail about how they have built their property portfolio up from scratch, which will range from talking head videos like this to taking you on tours around properties. Which if that's something you're interested in, please check out my video on how to make £281 a month while you sleep. Arguably, the best thing about YouTube is the recommendation page, which if you start looking at loads of different property investing content, you will get recommended the best stuff on YouTube. So it literally couldn't be easier to find content which will benefit you. If you start searching property investing for beginners, then after you've watched a few videos, the YouTube gods will know what other content to send your way. The benefit of YouTube is you can re-watch the same content a few times if there's gaps in your understanding, so you can do it at your own pace, which is boss, as everyone learns at different speeds. Finally, we have one of the biggest forms of content in the world, which is podcasts. I think up until Joe Rogan signed the $100 million deal with Spotify, people did not realise the influence and power of podcasting. This is certainly no different for property investing podcasts, with a number of investors doing podcasts on the state of the market, as well as interviewing other investors who do different strategies. Personally, I always listen to podcasts whenever I'm driving anywhere or when I go on my daily run, as this is the perfect time to get some leverage while I do everyday tasks. In terms of podcasts, I like listening to the Property Hub podcast, which tackles a wide variety of subjects around property investing. In particular, they have a really informative episode around the 18-year property cycle, which is fundamental to understand as a property investor. An investor we spoke about earlier is Mark Homer. He is someone I personally think talks a load of common sense when it comes to investing and the market generally, so I'll always keep my eyes peeled for his podcast called Mark My Words. He'll often do market updates or interviews with other investors or people interviewing him about his property journey. Another podcast I like is called Tej Talks, who invests remotely in South Wales and often gives you an honest depiction of what it's like to be an investor. Again, podcasts are a completely free tool to build your knowledge, and I love this type of content as you can go deep around the subject, whether it's in books, videos or podcasts. I know something else which is free, and that's smashing the big red fella below and subscribing to the channel. While you're there, please click the little bell icon and turn notifications on so you know when I post a new video. That would massively help me out. The next tip might seem like the most obvious one, but the internet is a massive place with lots of articles and blogs which will break down different stuff to do with property investing. This could be working out a yield for a property, for example. So if you ever need help, Google's your best friend. Not only this, but one of the best things you can start doing is spending all day and all night on Rightmove. This will give you a really good feel for your investment area. You'll understand how much stuff is selling and renting for. Having this general knowledge will massively help you down the line when it comes to actually purchasing a property, as you will know if a deal is overpriced. Something I like to do is to set up alerts on Rightmove, which will inform me via email every time a new property is listed in a certain area, so I can keep on top of new stuff coming on the market in my investment area. This makes it super easy to track stuff that's been online for a while, or it gives you the opportunity to be the first to view a property. So becoming a Rightmove nerd is never going to be a bad thing when it comes to property investing, and you can never start doing that too early. You can even start running theoretical numbers on deals you see online based on the knowledge you've built up. And if you're really stuck, you could reach out to other people in your wider network to bounce ideas and numbers off them to see if they think it's a good deal. Finally, there are lots of online forums. These can range from Reddit, Discord to Facebook groups. These can be brilliant places to connect with investors with a massive range of experience. You will get people who have massive portfolios alongside people who are taking their first steps into property. Again, these are free places for you to ask any questions. For example, I might have the opportunity to start doing flips in the next few months, but I'm unsure if the deals are out there. So I took the temperature in the progressive property community on Facebook and got loads of positive replies. These are brilliant ways to see what other investors are doing. If you're stuck with a really technical issue during a refurb, these are perfect places to put a question to the group, as there's normally investors with trade backgrounds who can help you out if you're stuck. Now, if you're starting out, this might not be you, but you can read through the posts and get a more rounded view of what being a property investor involves, and this is always a net positive in my opinion. Now, on the whole, these groups are really welcoming places, and most people are going to try and help you out if they can. But like anything in life, you get the old plant pot who will not be the kindest person, so my best piece of advice is to just ignore these people as they're not worth your energy. But if you're thinking of starting in a particular strategy, then you can join one of these groups and follow someone who's doing what you want to do, and comment on their posts and engage with them. As I often find, the more engaged you are in these communities, the more value you get out of them. Like I stated at the start of this video, knowledge is power, and I hope if you follow the steps I've broken down in this video, you can build up that knowledge base. The best thing about all of these things is that they are free, or at the most 20 quid for a book or a ticket to a networking event, which is awesome as it gives everyone access to getting involved into property. If you want to learn how to make £281 a month while you sleep, then please check out my video now, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Cheers.